the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. As usual, let us start with the snippets. The very first one, SC refuses to shift RG car case out of Bengal. Simple words. Stubble burning fines doubled. Stubble burning, we have got many a time, again familiar. Good morning to all of you. Tamils need strong voice, simple words. Addressing the issue of aging population, pro-natalist policies are not the way out. We have one word here. What is that word? Natal, pro-natalist. And you have to think of first the word natal. What does it mean? Related to birth. And you have to think of two more words. One is antenatal, means before birth, and postnatal means after birth. Here you have to be careful. Ante. It is a prefix. What is the meaning of ante? The prefix ante means before. And anti, anti means against. Both you have to recollect. Based on that, pro-natalist policies are not the way out. One more, way out here means not the solution. What does it mean? Not the solution. India's young guns take on South Africa. Here, you should not take literally. What does it mean? Young guns. Young guns in this context, young players. They are going to deal with the South African team. Let us go to next one. The main headline, many consular camps in Canada cancelled India. Consulate, it goes with countries and the offices that deal with different dimensions that go with migration, immigration, all these aspects. And because you all know a row between India and Canada, based on that, many consular camps in Canada cancelled India's statement. And we have one important word over here. What is it? Bedlam. Bedlam means what? Uproar or confusion. We have got the word uproar many a time. Usually in the parliament, imagine, the opposition protests a lot. Noisy protest, we use the word uproar. There was an uproar in the parliament. And this is a better word, exam point of view. Bedlam. Both mean the same, a chaotic situation. Do not hesitate. Next one. Do not hesitate. Do not hesitate to invoke UAPA, Shah tells police. There's one word here. What is that? Invoke. Invoke has got two different meanings. One goes with religion. You want the gods or goddesses, deities to come down and do a favor. Then you can use the word invoke. But invoke in this context means to make or to bring the law into force. Bring the law into force, then invoke. That's an important word. Here we have Amazon, Flipkart under ED lens for FEMA, FEMA violation. Simple words. Israel to deport family members of attackers. We usually tell students family members wrong. Here you see family members. I would like to show this one. Israel to deport family members. Why is this important? I think I told yesterday also. Exam point of view, standard English point of view, you should not say family members. You have to say members of family. Don't get confused. This goes with modern English or current English. We don't consider from the exam point of view. Very important. Let us go to the next one. We have a pic over here. Life in distress. There is one important word. What is that word? Distress. Distress is a state, to be in a state of anxiety, worry, or sorrow. When we had this COVID problem, quite often newspapers would use this word related to migrant workers. Migrant workers were in distress that time. Means what? A state of anxiety, sorrow, and not a positive thing, a negative word. And lifeline in distress. What is a lifeline here? The river Yamuna is a lifeline for many farmers. It is in distress. Why? You can see thousands of people, hundreds of people going in for a holy dip. Devotees congregate. There is another word here. What is the meaning of congregation? Let us have a look at this. You can easily make out. Devotees congregate. Congregate means to gather, one thing. And devotees we have got recently. On the banks of the polluted Yamuna in Delhi on Thursday, you can easily make out the water is not clear, completely polluted. And based on that, the lifeline, the river is a lifeline, it is in distress. Congress scared copying our scheme. You all know the word scared. For many students are scared of English. What does it mean? Afraid of English. And they think it is very difficult to handle. Actually it is not difficult. It all depends on the mindset. What is the one over here? Supreme Court directs liquidation of debt-ridden Jet Airways as last resort. There are two words over here. One is liquidation, an important word. Let me go there. Here we have Supreme Court directs liquidation of, one important word, liquidation. What is the other one? Debt-ridden and last resort. There are three words you have to focus on. One, liquidation, winding up a company. Officially, we use the word liquidate. It goes with assets, accounts, everything. You close a company, liquidation. And debt-ridden, here B is silent. Usually people say debt, B is silent, debt-ridden. And the next word, last resort. A resort, try to answer, is it a noun or a verb? It can be a noun, it can be a verb. As a noun, you all know, summer resort, winter resort. But as a verb, it has a different connotation. The crowd has resorted to violence. Means what? They got involved in violence. Here, last resort means last way of acting or dealing with something. That way it is important. Let us go back to please give me a second. Yes. Something went wrong, that's okay. That's all from the headlines. Let us go to the editorial. Before I go to the editorial, I would like to talk about the tone of the editorial, and I would like to present the vocabulary. This one. Hmm? Which one? Hmm? Like that. Okay. Thank you. Let us go to, this is a different one. Let us see what else is there to learn before this is, I've just done with this. Let us go to the next page. What do we have here? Himachal Congress chief denies rift within party. There are two words over here. One is deny, the other one rift within party. So what is the meaning of, I have already said that. What is the meaning of the word rift? Means a sort of gap, a rift between the friends, we say. What does it mean? Gap, some sort of misunderstanding between friends, we say, a rift between them. And here we have deny. Deny means to say no. Young Congress candidate expects to get sympathy votes in Ramgarh by-election. I think this page deals with political news, but here we have something. What is this? Expert advice. Advice, an important word. Tell me which part of speech is this? ADVICE. Which part of speech is it? It is a noun. What is the spelling if I have to use it as a verb? Then it is VISE. We have to use, the spelling changes. That is very important. What is it? What is this about? Experts from the US and Canada visit the Polavaram irrigation project on the Godavari River in Eluru district of Andhra Pradesh. It's about some sort of expert advice. Let me go back to the paper. It's almost 9:15. Time to go to the editorial. Let me go there. As usual, we start with the question, what is this editorial and what is the benefit of watching the session, the video? Enrichment, comprehension skill, vocabulary, grammar, effective English, mini-mocks, writing skill, vocabulary consolidation. Sometimes we have some, sometimes we don't have. What is the tone? The tone of this editorial is a cautious and critical. Don't consider the date. As usual, let us start with vocabulary based on the editorial. Bode well, an important expression. We have got many a time. Part of speech, a verb phrase, bode well. What does it mean? To indicate a positive outcome or show signs of success. As such, it's a positive thing, positive outcome, a signal, sort of indication for something good or bad going to happen in future. The early success of the project bodes well for its completion by the end of the year. Early success of the project bodes well, means it is a good sign. Synonyms, augur well, promise, signify, portend. Antonyms, bode ill, you have to remember this. Forebode, you have to remember this. Predict trouble, easy, not that difficult. Assume, generally I tell students, don't assume things. Assumptions are not advisable. Assume, verb, assumption, noun. Assume, part of speech, verb, meaning, to take on or accept a role, responsibility, or quality. That is one meaning. Another meaning, to suppose something to be true without proof. Don't assume things means what? Don't imagine things are very good, Manasa. You imagine something without any proof, that is an assumption. Look at the example. In the absence of clear instructions, she assumed full responsibility for the project. Synonyms, presume, suppose, adopt, take on. Antonyms, doubt, question, relinquish, discard. The next word, jeopardize, an important word. We have got a few times. Jeopardize, part of speech, verb. What does it mean? To put something in danger or at risk of harm or loss. Generally, we use a word What is the word we use? Endanger. Endangered species. Endanger means threaten. Jeopardize also means the same. To put something in danger or at risk of harm or loss. Example, his lack of commitment could jeopardize the success of the entire operation. When you're not interested, when you're not committed, obviously the prospects usually negative side, not on the positive side. Endanger, a risk, imperil, threaten. Two important words you have to remember. Antonyms: protect, safeguard, secure, shield. Opposite words, simple words. Desperate. Many youngsters are desperate for a job. What does it mean? They badly need a job. Desperate for something means you badly need something. Having a great need or desire for something, willing to do anything to change a difficult or hopeless situation. Desperate for a job is a typical combination from your point of view, you have to remember. They were desperate for a solution to the ongoing issues. They badly need a solution. Hopeless, frantic, despairing, urgent. You have to remember these two words. Despair, frantic. Antonyms: hopeful, content, calm, secure. Fan, an important word. We all know fan as a noun. Everyone knows, but here is it a noun or a verb? You're all job seekers, that's right. Verb. As a verb, a different meaning altogether. To increase or stimulate, particularly a feeling or situation, often a negative one. It has a negative connotation. Fan passions, fan emotions, negative connotation. Look at the example. The politician's speech only served to fan the anger of the crowd. As I said, it has a negative connotation. Here, anger of the crowd. Synonyms: fuel, kindle, incite, stir up. All these words you have to remember. Antonyms: soothe, calm, extinguish, alleviate. We have got these words many a time. These are also very important words. Soothing words. Vitiate, part of speech verb. To spoil. Vitiate something means what? Spoil. Spoil, weaken, or make something less effective or valid. The biased research could vitiate the credibility of the entire study. Spoil or weaken the credibility. Credible, an important word. Credibility means believability. When you can believe something, we say credible news. What is the opposite? Incredible. Incredible has two different meanings. One meaning opposite of credible, and the other one positive connotation. Incredible achievement means unbelievable achievement. Impair, a negative word. Corrupt, taint, debase. All except corrupt. All the three words are very important, you have to remember. Impair, taint, debase. Antonyms: strengthen, validate, purify, enhance. Boogeyman. All Americans, Europeans, they know this. For us, it's not a familiar word. Boogeyman means, it's a noun obviously, a mythical or imagined figure used to frighten or something causing fear or worry. In Western culture, boogeyman is part of Western culture. Means a scary character. To frighten the kids, they would use boogeyman. But it can also mean something that scares, something causing fear or worry. In many cultures, usually Western cultures, the word goes with Western cultures. In many cultures, the boogeyman is used to scare children, as I said, into behaving properly. Synonyms: scarecrow, spectre. Spectre means a ghost, spirit. Menace means threat. But you have to remember these two words. Guardian, protector, comforter. Brace. Embrace is one word. Brace, another word. Here it is a verb. to prepare or steady oneself for something challenging or difficult. Usually we come across in the newspapers a particular state bracing for the cyclone, bracing for the storm. Means what? Getting ready for the storm. To prepare or steady oneself for something challenging or difficult. Example, the team braced themselves for the impact of the storm. As I said, usually it goes with a natural disaster. Synonyms are prepare, fortify, strengthen, steady. Antonyms relax, unbrace, weaken, loosen. That's all about vocabulary. Let us go to the editorial. What is today's editorial? We have two short editorials. I have not chosen the first one. I have chosen the second one. What is the second one here? Testing time. Brace yourself for coming examination. Very good. Tirupati Rao, you are here. Testing time. Donald Trump's second term could add to the stress on climate action plans. I've chosen this because it goes with climate, environment, very important, exam point of view, otherwise also. Let us go to testing time. When do you say testing time? Something is challenging, something is difficult, you're being challenged, then you say testing time. Is a font big enough or you can't make out? Okay. I think I have to. A different page. Can you make out? Is it big enough or not big enough? Is it big enough? No. The font size. Testing time, I want, okay, good. Testing time, challenging time, you can also say testing time, you can also say challenging time. Donald Trump's second term could add to the stress on climate action plans. We have two words here. One is could. The other one, stress on climate action. Why should you focus on could? Try to respond what is the function of the model or helping verb could. It has four functions in fact. One is it is used to make a request, formal and very polite. Could you tell the time please? Could you please repeat? These are very polite requests. In a formal situation we use. Second one, it is used to express past ability. I could do something when I was young. Means what? Now I cannot do. Third one, it is used to express an idea of condition. You could sit here if you like. What is the idea of condition? If you like. And the last function, based on this, could also, it is used to express a possibility. Possibility, but the chances are less. Chances are more, we use may. Chances are less, we use might, could, should. All the three we can use. Here, Donald Trump's second term could add to the stress on something. This is a different part. To the stress, you have to take a pause over here. I think it has changed. One or 2 days, it takes some time. Here it talks about possibility, chances are less. Let's see how it goes. Many goals related to climate change and public health have important deadlines by 2030. What is a deadline? Many goals, and also if you take deadline by 2030. Reducing carbon emissions, and what are those? Many goals related to climate change and public health have important deadlines by 2030. You see a column here, and based on that, what are those? Reducing carbon emissions, financing poorer countries' climate mitigation and adaptation plans, protecting biodiversity, anticipating future pandemics, and instituting sustainable development. All these are the goals we have. Many goals, and the writer has listed out. There is one important word here. What is that word? Though we have got many a time, here we have mitigation. Respond, what is the meaning of the word mitigation? Mitigation means what? Mitigate, to reduce, alleviate, assuage. Very good. These are the goals we have, and deadline is 2030. Continuation of that, it does not bode well. You can say it bodes well, positive context. Negative context, we say, we use a sentence in the negative form. It does not bode well, means something is not good. It does not bode well for any of them that in the second half of this decade, when the world has greater need of science sensitive to societal, developmental, and humanitarian needs, plus cross-border trust, Donald Trump will be the US president. When the situation demands some sort of positive aspects, fortunately or unfortunately, we have Donald Trump as the US president. That is the stand taken by the editorial. Those goals have been instrumentalized by treaties that demand collective action, the ability to negotiate and compromise, and a willingness to assume the long view, all of which Mr. Trump has shown he is incapable of, thus jeopardizing the desperate progress the world needs to make. From here to here we have all these talk about what? Right now, the present scenario demands cooperation, trust, proactiveness, and mitigating the problems, all these. And for these to happen, there should be some sort of trust among the countries, and the leaders should have a positive outlook. But unfortunately, the editorial's opinion, the editor opines, Donald Trump does not have any of this. That is a problem. Negative tone, exactly. Whatever I say based on the editorial, not my personal opinion, do remember. That's what the stand taken by the editorial. Donald Trump will be the US president. These goals, all these, unfortunately, Trump has shown he is incapable of, thus jeopardizing. That means all these things will get threatened or endangered. The desperate progress the world needs to make. The world is desperate to make progress. Already at the recent COP16 summit, the world's richest countries refused to meet their own commitments to pay for biodiversity management and instead pointed to private sector funding to bridge the gap. Already we have got negative feelers. Many developed countries have refused to fund and they wanted the private sector to fund. And that is in a way negative thing. To bridge the gap, developing countries need the funds. And COP29 will begin next week to draft the framework in which the carbon offset system will operate without devolving into a pay-to-pollute scheme. In his first term, Mr. Trump pulled US out of the Paris Agreement. We all know that the stand taken by Donald Trump pulled out of the Paris Agreement. In his first term, Mr. Trump pulled the US out of the Paris Agreement, refused to fund World Health Organization, censored research findings, promoted the expansion of carbon-intensive industries, and fanned pseudoscience, means encouraged in a way, pseudoscience. Pseudo means what? False. I'm sure all of you know this. He also vitiated scientific collaborations weakened, but spoiled by raising the boogeyman of hidden political agendas, and after his appointees to the Supreme Court overturned the Chevron doctrine, weakened federal agencies' ability to regulate emerging technologies. All these sentences talk about what? Someone has mentioned a negative tone. Who is that? Yes, Shubham. It starts with the world, climate change, the problems and what is required, what has to be done. Then it goes to Donald Trump and what impact it is going to make on climate change initiatives. And the whole thing, 3-4 sentences, it is going to be negative. That is a stand taken by the editorial. Let us go to the second part of the editorial. What does it say? Given the US's likely turn towards a transactionalism for the next half decade and the world's rapidly shrinking carbon budget, countries fighting climate change must consider binding agreements so that commitments thereunder survive changes in government. Usually what happens, imagine one particular country based on the president or based on the incumbent government, they go in for some sort of agreement. 4 years down the line, the government changes and the new government does not endorse that particular agreement, then the whole thing collapses. Based on that, it says that the agreement should be binding, irrespective of the changes in the administration. The governments may change, but the binding agreements are very important towards the commitments. Only then you can see progress. Otherwise, it will be a setback. Here it talks about so that the commitments thereunder survive changes in government while bracing to miss targets by wider margins in the interim. Then again, Mr. Trump's US cannot be treated as an isolated stressor. Other countries are also there, not only the US, even European countries, they went back on their words. For one, to substantiate that statement, for one, the repercussions for US-Europe trade under Europe's new carbon border adjustment mechanism are yet to be worked out. Similarly, if the US reduces adaptation financing, which is not unlikely, the drain on other countries' budgets will compromise their capacity to deal with everything from pathogen surveillance to early warning systems. What it means, if these rich countries, Western countries, affluent countries, if they go back, then I told last time also, when it comes to renewable energy, it is not that easy to change from non-renewable to renewable overnight. The developing countries, if they want to shift from fossil fuels to renewable sources of energy, they need two things. One, they need the funds. Second, they need the technology. And where do they get the funds from? Where do they get the technology from? Obviously, Western countries. Now, these Western countries go back on their words or promises. The developing countries will have a lot of stress, financial stress. That's what the sentence talks about. Countries' budgets will compromise their capacity to deal with everything from pathogen surveillance to early warning systems. There is still hope, however. All this is negative, but the editorial says rather it sees a silver lining, and somewhere it feels hope is there. There is still hope, however. What is that hope? United States have considerable power to effect subnational action, and while less than ideal, it must not be underestimated. Mr. Trump's re-election also places a higher premium on other government support, material and otherwise, for their scientists, their collaborators, and evidence-based policy making to keep the world on course. Keep something or someone on course means go in the same direction to meeting its goals. I feel the font is very small, not big enough. I don't think this is going to work. That's all about the editorial. Let us go to the questions based on the editorial to test your comprehension skill. This pattern, this is better, I feel. Please read the first one and try to answer. What is the primary concern expressed in the editorial about Donald Trump's second term? It may delay global trade agreements. It could obstruct progress toward international climate action goals. It may increase the spending on scientific research. It could lead to stronger environmental policies in the US. Please answer. Pathogens related to disease causing germs, all those we say pathogens. Pathology, study of disease. What is the answer here? Answer is the second option, yes. It could obstruct progress toward international climate action goals. Which of the following is not listed as a key goal for climate action by 2030? Reducing carbon emissions, key goal. Financing climate initiatives in wealthier countries. Protecting biodiversity, important. Preparing for future pandemics, important. Why do they need? Answer is again B. That is not relevant in this context, not listed, obviously. How did Donald Trump's first term impact environmental policies according to the editorial? He strengthened funding for scientific research. He increased the collaborations with other countries. He withdrew the US from the Paris Agreement and promoted carbon-intensive industries. Answer is C. Not good for the environment. Question number 4. What recent European policy could potentially impact US-Europe trade relations under Trump's administration? It is not the Paris Agreement, nor the Green New Deal. What is it? The Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. Have you guys answered? Yes, it is C. The last question based on comprehension. What concern does the editorial raise about the US's potential reduction in adaptation financing? What concern does the editorial raise? It may increase the US carbon budget. It will force other countries to withdraw from climate agreements. It could reduce other countries' ability to manage health surveillance and early warning systems. Fifth one also C. Very good. Let us go to exam topics. First one, error location. Read the sentence and try to spot the error. Although interlinking of rivers will help to tackle drought, the government hasn't paid much attention to this project. Should not be that difficult if you are good at grammar. There is a clue also. Yet is not correct. No. What is a clue for you guys? We have the word help. Two important, these are known as causative verbs. We have many, but these two are very important. These causative verbs in active voice do not take the preposition to. That is the error. I'll read the sentence without to. Although interlinking of rivers will help tackle drought, the government has not paid much attention to this project. If you work hard, it will help you to achieve success. Wrong. If you work hard, it will help you achieve success. After help, don't use a preposition to. And what are the causative verbs? Help, make, have, get, and also let. We should not use, but this rule goes with active voice. Passive voice we can use. For example, he made us to wait for 2 hours. Wrong. Active voice. He made us wait for 2 hours. Passive voice, we were made to wait for 2 hours. Nothing wrong. Passive voice we can use. We cannot use a preposition to in active voice. The rise in prices of food items is likely, the cause inflation is likely to, there's inflation to exceed 8% during the next quarter. Yes. Whenever you come across rise, raise, you have to be careful. You have to become alert and you have to cross-check whether you have to use rise or raise. Here we are talking about prices going up. Then you cannot say raise. What is the right word here? The rise in prices. Very good. Many students have got it right. Under pressure, not that easy. Many people believe that the nationalization of banks in the 1960s have protected India from the current financial crisis. Many people believe that. What is the subject? The nationalization of banks in the 1960s. Whenever you read a sentence, you should have the ability to identify the subject and the phrases or clauses after the subject. Once you identify the phrases and clauses after the subject, put them in brackets and read the sentence. How does it go? Nationalization, will you say have or has? Has. Here we have to use has. What is the reason? Nationalization, subject, third person singular. Then we have to use a singular verb. We cannot say have, we have to say has. Exactly. Single fillers, try to read, should not be that difficult. He is so demanding that of the 3 houses was liked by him. You can say neither, you can say neither. Neither, either, none, no one, none of these. So what is the answer? No, not neither. We are talking about 3 houses. These 2 we use if we are talking about 2 things or 2 persons. But more than 2, what is the indefinite pronoun we have to use? None. None is indefinite pronoun. The clue for you, 3. 2, either this or that. But you cannot use those here because number 3. Third option is the answer. 2 decades this city has been prosperous. First you have to understand, has been prosperous means what? Which tense? Present perfect tense. Present perfect tense, there are 2 prepositions we use. One since, the other for. What is the difference? Since is used specific time, we use since, and for used for time period. Yes, here we have 2 decades, that is a time period. Then we have to use a preposition for. For 2 decades, the city has been prosperous. Answer is the first option. Very good. No, we cannot use since. Since goes with since 10:30, since Monday, since October, since 2015. Oh, I will talk to them. Let us go to the last one. The sister of the dead girl was overwhelmed. Grief. By grief, with grief, from, for. This is a bit challenging. Go to the last one. Here, overwhelmed by grief. Let's see what others say. Generally, we say overwhelmed by the response. We don't say with the response. Like that, overwhelmed by grief. That's what you must have thought of. But based on the context, we have to use the appropriate preposition. Here we have to use overwhelmed with grief, not by grief. Her state of mind overwhelmed with what? With grief. When you say by, it means in a way you're taking it to passive voice. Shocked by something, that's a different thing. But here we are talking about being filled with grief. Being filled with grief, overwhelmed with what? Because we have the word. Here we cannot use a preposition by. Context is very important. Based on the context, you have to decide. That's all for today. And initially we had a problem. I will tell the technical people to upload the PDF. And I will, whatever I feel after looking at the font size, I feel the font size is not big enough. It doesn't work. We'll go back to the regular pattern, this pattern, easy, and already you got used to that pattern. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.